Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TC Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be doing an Alpha Clash one. We're going to talk about the 25k Clashground Level Up Expo that's going to be happening next weekend in Las Vegas, as well as give some predictions. I'm going to show some general list of some decks that I think will perform well. We'll just talk about the event in general, have a good time. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy your stay. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out my Discord down below, as well as the channel membership if you want to support the channel in a different way. So we'll get right into it. So the 25k Clashground weekend is next weekend at the Level Up Expo in Las Vegas, April 26th through the 28th. Alpha Clash is doing a 25k prize weekend. They're doing a 10k, basically like they're for my flesh and blood people, basically their form of Clash Constructed. They do a $10,000 cash tournament. It's considered a tier 2 event, and you can do different ticketing and stuff like that. It's gonna be really fun. I know a couple of flesh and blood players that are going to it. I'm pretty sure Michael Hamilton's going to it. They were just talking about it on the MNR podcast. Some other notable players as well, and then obviously the Alpha Clash faithful are going to it. So it's gonna be a great weekend. It's like their version of a calling. It's the best way to put it. And if I had the financial means right now to go, I would 100% went, because it's gonna be super fun event, super cool to see. And yeah, we're gonna talk into it. I'm gonna show a couple lists of decks that we expect to perform well. I have three of the kind of, the easier ones, and then one kind of dark horse deck that I hope someone brings that I think could do pretty well. It's not really a deck tech, just kind of showing you to give you a visual look, but kind of going through here. So the deck in the format to beat currently, just how it is Torque. Now, if you go back and look, I think it was the Malaysian event over in Manila. I'm pretty sure it's in Manila. Ended up their top 8, I believe, was 6 Torque and 2 Clarities, right? And the Clarities were 7th and 8th place. Torque right now, red blue Torque, red white Torque, specifically red blue, and even a mix of all 3 colors is doing extremely well right now. It's a very difficult deck. It has very good early game. It has with the ramp of blue. It has very good mid game with some of Torque's 5 drops. And even some flare stuff in the one of war, and it also has some very good late game with the Torque uncontrollable boom plays, as well as the 6/6 flight and flare, and the 6/6 barrage 2 7-drop machina. It's just very, very good. It does have some weaknesses you can go into it, but really the reason this deck is so good is because it has a good early game with the Havens and with the ramp. It has good mid game with some of the Torque uncontrollable stuff, and it has good late game with flare and with machina. So really, really good. This is my list. This isn't the exact list that everyone would run. This is just kind of how I've ran the deck. Like I said, the early game pieces are the 1-drop Haven, the 2-drop blue Haven that helps you ramp. I put in this one's not as ran. I put in the 2/2 flight blue Plasmix, which really helped, and then also the 1-drop flare helps. It's basically like Torque's ability on a card. And then you're trying to get the Torque uncontrollables and mix them with Here Comes the Boom. You also have some defensive pieces like Lefty's Last Stand and Deliverance, which is very, very good. It kind of hits the early, mid, and late game of what Alpha Clash does, and it's the deck to beat right now, right? You're either playing this deck or you're playing a deck that you think can beat it. You have to have a game plan into this deck if you're going to try to actually seriously win the event. But that's the fun thing about this event, is because it's like one of the first major, it's not the first, but it's one of the first major events they've had, especially in the United States, to this magnitude. People are going to bring the decks they love, I think, a little bit, which is really, really fun. I'm really enjoying seeing in the Discord just people talking about different decks. And yes, Torque is widely known as the best one, but people are going to bring what they want to bring, right? So Torque's the deck to beat. The next best one is probably Clarity. People are running all mix of colors with Clarity. Blue, white, or white blue, or white green, or white green blue is typically what you see. You will see some white black Clarity going around, but for me, I did a white green. This is similar to Dagan White's original list that won an event, and it's honestly, I think, one of the more consistent ways to play Clarity. That's just my opinion, but I really like this deck because, again, similar to Torque, it has really good early game with the 1 and 2 drop White Havens that draw a card and gain health. Has good ramp with the 2-drop blue Havens. And you can pair that up with some other blue like Lefty's Last Stand. So if you don't get the ramp, it's fine. If you do, it's even better. Really, really good for that. And then it has really good mid game, actually, I found, with Menacing Magnate as a 2/1 flyer. And then the Sonoro, this card actually is so good. It's very well used. It's not really underrated, but it's underrated in terms of how good it is in the game. It's a trigger attack that gets, when it attacks, it gets 1/1 until end of turn, and you draw one card. Then if your contender is green, which we don't get, you may ray a clash card you control, but you get the 1/1 and draw a card off of this, and it's a 4/3 out of 5 drop. Very, very good. And obviously, the reason we play the deck, you have the 6-drop Kagan, 5/5 flyer that kills the most powerful thing on your opponent's board, and then Clarity for Seeing Fate, which just does a multitude of things for Clarity and pairs with their hero ability really well. Me personally, some personal choices I made in this list. I ended up putting Lyn in here. This is one of my answers to Torque, is Lyn the Nanite Warrior. It's a 2/3 with close combat, so it can attack ready Clash cards. So if they have some Torque uncontrollables on the field, unless they have a Clash buff, you were able to knock it out with Lyn Nanite Warrior, and it has interception, so it can stop flight in a pinch. But I really enjoy it to be able to take out Torque uncontrollable, because they'll keep them ready until they're ready to do their boom play. So being able to drop this down on turn 3, potentially turn 2 with ramp, and take out their Torque uncontrollables, it's a very, very nice thing. So we also have Magnate's Trap. Again, another way to kill off Torque. Again, I told you, every deck that's not Torque, you're gonna have to know how to play into Torque. Send target attacking a Clash card with an initial resource cost of 2 or less to the Oblivion. Then that controller discards 1 card. Very, very good. I have 2 in the main board and 2 in the sideboard as well, in order to deal with those pesky Torque uncontrollables. Then we have Grand Park Chicago, basically our tutor, and Amazon Rainforest, very good. Cards like Deliverance, Lefty's Last Stand, pretty standard here. In the sideboard, my sideboard's kind of like Posh Posh, won't go into the sideboard. But basically, this is a good answer to Torque if you can outlast them. Use your early game defensive pieces, use stuff like Magnate's Trap and Lyn to get rid of their Torque uncontrollables. And then even though they do have the flare, even though they do have this 6/6 flight flare and 6/6 Machina, you have Kagan, which will kill their flare pretty much. For the most part, it says, trigger enter, you may send target Clash card to the Oblivion. So you just kill their flare, doesn't matter. Very, very good card. And then also finally Clarity for Seeing Fate is really good. So I think this is going to be the second best deck. Again, in the Manila top 8, this was 7th and 8th place. Not this exact list, but a version of Clarity was in the top 8 there. And that was the only 2 heroes in the top 8, or two contenders. The third one I expect to do really well is Machina. There's a bunch of different ways you can build this deck, but Machina cares about accessories, non-trap accessories, so he can destroy them, deal 2 damage and draw a card, and get a lot of card advantage that way. So a lot of these accessories, using the blue accessories is really cool. I actually like using Mystery Item here. It's really funny because you play it for 2 resources, and whenever you attach this weapon to a Clash card, you can roll a d6 and potentially get something better. So if you're not wanting to destroy it for another turn, it's really fun to do it that way. But most of these just go with Machina's kit, and then you obviously have the blue-red package. You can utilize Torque uncontrollable and boom to have another win condition. Again, the defense of blue and Lefty's Last Stand, and the similar late drops to Torque as far as Machina and Flare. But some really cool stuff. Another really powerful card in this deck that people are going to be using a lot is Machina Heavy Brawler, which says put target non-trap accessory with an initial resource cost of 2 or less from the Oblivion into your accessory zone. So if you play one of these 1-drop accessories turn 1 and destroy it immediately to deal 2 damage and draw a card, you then can play it back on turn 5, potentially turn 4 with ramp, and go get that right back. So these are the 3 I see. The one I do not have in here that I know is a very good deck is War, but I want to see War do a little bit more. We haven't had a lot of events, but the little ones we have, I know War's very new, but we haven't seen War in action yet, and I want to see if people really go after that deck. I know the deck's very good, but I've seen most of the talk around these 3 decks. I've seen most of the talk around Machina, Clarity, and Torque. The one kind of dark horse deck that I want to see do well is Death. I think Death is really cool. Death placed just outside top 8 in the Manila event. There was a couple in top 16, like 2 or 3. You could do black-white Death or black-green is typically what you see. Death says when a Death Clash card you control is defeated or sent to the Oblivion, you may engage this card. If you do, draw 1 card. Then up to 1 target Clash card you control gets 1/1 until end of turn. So it's a card draw on Death, which is really, really nice. And at her 10 health, it says once per turn during your primary phase, you may put target black Clash card with initial resource cost or 2 or less from the Oblivion into play. At the end, banish that card. So you basically get some recursion, right? I have a black-white death list. Black-green's also widely known as probably the better list, but I like black-white literally for this card. For clarity, Harbinger of Death. This is the reason I want to play black-white death. Trigger enter. Each opponent sends a clash card they control to the Oblivion. So it's just like Kagan. Just you don't kill it, they kill it. When this card is engaged, it can't be sent to the Oblivion by an opponent's card effect, so it can't be defeated. It can be clashed with, but it just can't be defeated. Once during your turn, when another clash card is defeated or sent to the Oblivion, you may choose one. Your contender gains 2 health, or you look at the top card of your deck, put it atop a bottom of your deck, then draw a card. So when you pair this with Death's ability, you essentially, when something is defeated on your turn, once per turn, you draw 2 cards, potentially, right? And you're able to look at the top card of your deck before you draw those 2 cards. Like, extremely powerful ability. And when you pair this again with the early game defense of white with Haven, I love using the 4-drop Conquest in this deck as well. Being able to trigger when it enters, engage target clash card you don't control, rest one of your opponent's cards, maybe a blocker they have or some powerful card. Trigger victory, another clash card you control gets 1-0 until end of turn. So you can put this card in. It has haste like everything in the game. Maybe you engage the 1 card they have on the field, hit their contender for 3, stuff like that, and kind of go off to the races, right? I also, again, have Lyn Nanite Warrior in here to deal with Torque Uncontrollable. We have the Moxie 1-drop in order to get some more card draw. And then obviously we need the death cards to trigger her ability. So we just have the death suite in here. Nothing crazy. These are pretty standard that you'll see in most any death deck. We also have Frontline, very, very good for this deck. So this deck has the affiliation that we care about, because the portal closed. Basically all of these cards will get 1 defense. And if you look at our gosh, I'm getting mixed up with all the stuff I'm doing now. If you look at our deck, pretty much all of them are under that affiliation except for our Haven cards and our Lyn cards. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 27 out of basically 38 of our Clash cards will get a 1 defense buff with Frontline. It also helps us be able to have more card draw. We have Deliverance in order to be able to deal with some people's board states. And then finally, incoming support. You got to use these. There is an argument to use the other one, which allows you to bring death cards back. Basically, the 2 or less resource. But I mean, you can't beat the set 1 Clash buffs. Then we have Sharpshooter Moxie to deal with those Torque Uncontrollables a little bit. Just kill them immediately. We actually have more on the sideboard here. But I think Black-White Death is a little bit slept on. I'm not saying it's like the best deck in the format. I'm just saying I think it can deal with Torque really well. It has the ability to recur pieces that Torque takes out with Here Comes the Boom. It has the ability to have early game removal with Sharpshooter Moxie and with Deliverance. It has the ability to fight off the Torque cards with Lyn. And it has the late game in order to deal with flares and deal with other stuff. It has Clarity, Harbinger of Death, and it has the 6-drop Death Endbringer, which is exclusive. But it says at the start of your turn, if the portal is open, you may put a target Clash card with initial resource cost of 3 or less from the Oblivion into your Clash zone. If that card is, gosh, why is that going away from me right now? Discarded, not discarded. Gosh, someone let me in the comments below. I'm having the biggest brain fart of my life. But basically, if it's this card, it gets 2/2 and necrotic, which is like Death Touch until the end of turn. At the start of each opponent's turn, that opponent must send 1 Clash card they control to the Oblivion. So it just automatic removal. And yes, it's exclusive, but you run 4 of these because if Torque kills it with whatever, then, you know, in order for Torque to kill this, they have to play Here Comes the Boom and use their ability in order to kill it, which is really interesting. And this cannot be defeated by card effects, which is really, really nice. So really good answers to Torque, I think. And I think people just haven't played around with Death as much. I think Clarity and Torque are super powerful. And because of that, Death might not be being looked at as much. But if I was going to Vegas, this would be the deck I would run. And Torque's my favorite character right now. Well, Moxie's technically my favorite, but competitively, Torque's my favorite character. But I'd be running Death. I think Black-White Death could do some really cool stuff. But if you're going to the event or you're interested in the game, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm super excited to see how this goes. I'm pretty sure the Realm Games are streaming it, so I'll be watching it. I'll probably do a live stream, like watch play. I'll get permission from Ridge and their team to do that, but I think that'd be really good. But yeah, If you enjoy this type of content, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the video. If you didn't, it's totally fine. Go to another creator, leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff. There's some cool creators covering this game right now, and this game deserves so much more attention than it's getting. It's ridiculous. I'm glad some Flesh and Blood notable players are seeing that and showing interest in it, so definitely check it out. It's really fun. They have a new set, Unrivaled, coming out May 31st at the end of next month, so definitely check that out. But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed this. If you did, thank you so much, and I'll see y'all next time on TC Talk.